I thought, yes, I am creative, and I am creative in the way that I come up with creative solutions daily to thrive in a world that I feel is not set up for me. So I've said that twice now, and I say it because it is an empowering tool that I use to let myself know that I am not helpless in the face of disability and illness.
Everyone, Clary Chambers here from Spark Clarity. I'm super excited because I have a brand new video, an episode for you, and it is amazing. I really think you're gonna like this one. This is from a keynote talk that I did, and I did this in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and it was done for Creative Mornings, and it was just fantastic. No Hands is the folks that recorded it. You're really gonna get some great insights here. It's all about what we can do to make our spaces more inclusive, brand new content. It ended up being super fantastic. It's just 5 minutes long, so it won't take you too long to get through it all. It's been such a great day of video editing and getting it all together. So without further ado, here it is.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Clary Chambers, and I am the founder of Spark Clarity. I have 3 pictures behind me of me throughout my life. And so what I want you to do is think in your mind where you think that I have been most creative throughout my life. And I know that a few of you are probably thinking right to the childhood photo because we often associate creativity with play and childhood. But for me, it's actually the photo of me with the bubbles. And there, I feel most creative. And I feel most creative there because I come up with creative solutions daily to thrive in a world that I feel is not set up for me. Okay, so 2 years ago, I went to an event. Check. No, it's here. 2 years ago, I went to an event by Happiness Habit 613. And at this event, they asked us, are we creative people? And if so, where in our lives do we feel most creative? And I think when asked this question, if you think about it for yourself, we often don't say that we are creative. We usually default to our friends who are artists or graphic designers, and we say, yes, that person is creative. But for me, I thought, yes, I am creative, and I am creative in the way that I come up with creative solutions daily to thrive in a world that I feel is not set up for me. So I've said that twice now, and I say it because it is an empowering tool that I use to let myself know that I am not helpless in the face of disability and illness. For myself, I have fibromyalgia as well as a learning disability. So what does that mean to have an invisible illness or to have an invisible disability or suffer from chronic pain? What that means is that when you look at me, for example, I appear to be able-bodied, and that you cannot tell that I am disabled by just looking at me. And so I'm going to give an example of some other invisible illnesses, some other invisible disabilities that can also result in chronic pain as well. And I'm going to ask you if you feel comfortable at the end to raise your hand if you identify with having one of those, or just simply know someone in your life who does. So invisible illnesses, invisible disabilities, chronic pain conditions can include diabetes, fibromyalgia, endometriosis, allergies, any mental health conditions such as anxiety or depression, learning disabilities, ADHD, and the list goes on. Lupus would count in there as well, so would epilepsy. So if you feel comfortable now, I'm gonna ask, can you raise your hands if you yourself identify with having one of those or know someone who does? Wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that everyone would raise their hands pretty much. So now we can tell that this is something that definitely affects our whole community, our creative community as well. 1 in 10 folks in the US alone have fibromyalgia. So in a room full of 200 people here, it's statistically probable that 20 of us would have this condition. So I'm going to leave you with 3 takeaways now. This is the first one, of what we can do in order to make our spaces more inclusive. And I believe that every single person in this room has the agency to be able to make those changes. Whether you're in charge of your bedroom space, your office space, your community events, I believe we can all make actionable changes to allow all people with chronic invisible illnesses, invisible disabilities to thrive. So the first one is to reduce shame. And when you are ill, when you're a person who is sick, there is a lot of shame with being sick. People who have these conditions often feel that they cannot keep up with the pace that society has set and that we continue to reinforce. We need to create communities where people feel they are deserving of those accommodations. We need to create communities and groups where people feel that they are heard, that they are respected, and that they are believed. The second takeaway is acknowledge our blind spots. We are gonna find that when we start to create more inclusive spaces, we're gonna realize we didn't do the best that we could. And that's okay. Now that we know better, we need to do better. I find that the biggest deterrence for people to actually implement change and to implement things that will change their space is letting go of their ego and their ignorance. Now that we know better, we need to do better. We need to continue to make more changes than excuses. And the last one, and I love this one, is start where you are. Start by asking the people who are already coming into your spaces, what can we do to make the space more inclusive for you? And we need to dig deep. We need to ask questions like, how is the lighting in here? What are the chairs like? Don't assume that because no one has said anything at this point, that it doesn't mean that there's any changes that can be made. Because I believe when we take the energy to put it in to make our spaces more inclusive, we allow these people who I believe are the most creative people in the world, because they too are coming up with creative solutions to thrive in a world that is not set up for them. Allowing them to be able to then use that creative potential to not just simply exist in the space, but to thrive in it allows for change, a different sort of change. And I believe this is a change that we are looking for in the world. My name is Clary Chambers. Thank you so much for having me.